All right. What can I help you with?
I am having trouble landing my first job in the industry.
Okay. So what are you having trouble with exactly?
I've applied to almost 500, if not over 500 jobs, and I'm really struggling with just landing interviews. I think out of 500 jobs I've only had, or job applications submitted, I've only been in maybe 6 or 7 interviews.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How did those interviews go?
A few of them, I actually made it to the final round, and, they ended up going with a more experienced developer. And then the other ones, I flopped somewhere in the coding challenges. And one, they ended up, they were going to give me an offer, and then they ended up changing the job description at the very end. So, yeah.
That's frustrating.
It was, man.
All right. I'm just going to ask, I guess, a series of questions to try to figure out what might be holding you back. Since we only have, 25 minutes, it's going to be condensed. Do you prefer like a few job boards? Where are you finding your jobs to apply to?
There is one platform in particular that I've used a lot called OTTA, OTTA, and then just LinkedIn. I've tried Angie's List, Indeed, but I just get a lot of like weird spammy material from those platforms. But most of my interviews have came from LinkedIn or OTTA.
LinkedIn or OTTA. When you apply on LinkedIn, first of all, are you applying directly on LinkedIn and OTTA?
So yes, but I'm preferring to go directly to the company's website.
Good.
Yeah. Exactly.
So if you can do that, you always do that.
Okay.
Oh, so I'm actually asking. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I was like, definitely. That is what I prefer to do. I pretty much always go to the company website, and then I'll go onto LinkedIn, and I'll like look for the recruiters or some kind of management, and I'll either connect with them with a note, or I'll send them a message if that's possible, being like, hey, my name's Mitch. I'm a talented front-end developer. I recently applied to this position at your company. If you come across my resume, please reach out. I'm just respectfully Mitch, essentially. And sometimes that's worked, but sometimes not. Okay.
I'm going to be candid. That sounds like a templated message that has like no value whatsoever.
Okay.
So first of all, you're doing something that most developers won't do. You're reaching out. You're taking that initiative. That's awesome. But that message is so generic. It's like a recruiter wants to bring someone on that like is really interested in the company, and sometimes it's hard to like have a lot of interested in a company you just don't want to work for. You're just trying to get a job. Like, I get it. But finding something that you can relate to, super helpful. And so I usually recommend, like, if you're applying to a position, people fight me tooth and nail to this day, but like, submit a cover letter. That cover letter should be no more than 2 paragraphs. If it's more than half a page as an entry-level developer, you're doing it wrong. The first paragraph shows that like you've at least looked at what the company is, right? And you're like, okay, I get what you guys are doing. I get your goals. And like, I really value this value that you set on your website, or like your tech team actually mentioned something I'm really passionate about, accessibility. Like, I've read the entire article. Like, this was awesome. Like, you should actually look at one of my LinkedIn posts. I talked about it, right? It's a very relatable cover letter, and that makes it worth writing that cover letter. It's a very relatable follow-up message to a recruiter. That's a message worth reading for that recruiter. And so when you've applied for that many positions, it's easy to just get into this rut of just like, okay, 15 more applications this week, 15 more, right? It's discouraging. It's self-defeating. And I find that you're going to have to find a way. Actually, I'm just going to ask you, do you feel burned out from applying to positions?
I actually, I kind of haven't. Luckily, I don't. But the answer is no. I don't feel burned out. I do feel discouraged, obviously. But luckily, I have this indomitable spirit where I'm just like, I'm going to get this thing done. However, the results have been, not where I want them to be. I'm really just interested in making progress, and I'm stuck there. So anything, to encourage me to keep fighting would be helpful.
Yeah, well, I mean, good for you, first of all, because I know after that many positions, I would be discouraged. And I think what I suggested will help you a lot. I think going for a more tactful approach can help. I also think that you are going about it with a cold application process. There are other strategies as well, usually more effective strategies. If you've already taken that initiative to reach out to recruiters, maybe you'd be open to them. But I'm going to mention a few things. Like, you can participate in hackathons, especially in your local community. They can be online as well, but like, make sure the hackathons have recruiters coming in, looking at the projects. You can get a project up quickly. And it's a valuable project. You're working on a team, try not to step on each other's toes. Hackathons are really powerful in that sense. You can also go to networking meetups. You can go to developer meetups. Usually any sort of meetup that doesn't charge you. I mean, it depends. You just got to be wary of networking meetups that charge you. But like, if a meetup has a networking type event, but it has like a topic or it has a lecture, and then like you get together and do something, like create something, or you know what I mean? Like, going to meetups like that, that's powerful. Do you feel like you've really taken that initiative with networking focus?
You know, I have not. I would say that is something I am not doing to the full potential. Okay.
That's so, yeah, I mean, this is tough. And I just told the last person this, we're heading deeper into a recession. The market sucks. It like, and the thing is, a lot of what you're doing, it might be right. And it's really hard to stand out going forward. Networking is going to be key, 100%. Networking, you have to push forward with it. So I think taking that initiative will help. And one thing I want you to remember, when you create a connection with another aspiring developer, because a lot of people are like, I would need to network with hiring managers. No, you don't. Meet other aspiring developers, similar interests, right? They get hired. What does that company do before they put up a public job posting? They ask the team, hey, we got to bring in 10 more developers, right? You guys recommend anything or anyone? Who would you recommend? And a lot of times they kind of just want to bring in someone that's going to vibe with the team. Good cultural fit. You vibe with that person, chances are, you might vibe with the team. And so a lot of it is just like doing what you can to reduce that risk that the company sees you as, because every employee is a risk. And one way you could do that is ensuring or giving more confidence that you could potentially be a good cultural fit. So have some other ideas, but I know I just said a lot. So what are your thoughts on that?
I actually think that's a really good perspective. I did write down like goals for 2023, and, landing that job is just like the bigger picture, but inside of that, networking and hackathons are on that list of things that I want to do. So this is just some sort of inspirational confirmation for me. I would love, this is what I'm going to do. You've inspired me for sure. Yeah.
Let's challenge your projects and how you're showcasing yourself. So a lot of times I would say like 1 out of 50 developers where I look at their resume is actually like high quality and very impressive to a hiring manager. At an entry level, I think a lot of people screw the resume portion up. So I don't think I have enough time to like manage the screen sharing and set that up, but can you go ahead and describe like what's on your resume?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I have that right here. So on my resume, I've kind of went with a skills first type presentation. Perfect. And then right under my skills, I have certifications, a little bit of work experience. I've actually done some freelance work. And then I have my notable projects and just a little bit of education.
Gotcha. So your freelance work, your experience is going to go above your education stuff. Your education at the bottom, it's less relevant unless you got something like if you're aiming for like heavy backend positions, you got something like an AWS certification or.
No, but I just have a bootcamp cert and a backend Meta from Coursera. And then just like a bunch of random front end certifications from like Codecademy and Udemy and stuff like that.
It's probably taking up a lot of space on your resume, huh?
It actually isn't. I just put multiple front end certifications, and then I under that, it just says Codecademy, like the Oxford comma, Udemy, etc. And then just the dates that I was teaching myself to program. It's actually very clean, very neat, all on one page. And I think it's the best version of the resume that I have yet.
Okay.
I would say. Yeah.
What percentage height wise does your personal projects take up?
Percentage height wise. Oh, so the notable projects only take up like 8 lines total. I don't know how to describe that. Percentage wise, I would say maybe I could just say like 1/3, maybe slightly less.
1/3, slightly less. Okay. Yeah. Maybe like a full few bullets. First of all, apologize for this. I would probably ask for the resume with like your details scrambled out. So that's why I'm not having you share it. Mm-hmm. But so how, like, okay, how much time each day are you spending on just trying to become a developer?
Oh, that's a really good question. So currently I'm unemployed. So I've been able to really focus on my skills, and I have a schedule where I apply to jobs every other day. And then my typical schedule is going to be like 6 a.m. I do some coding challenges, and then I move on to projects that I'm working on, including maybe projects that I'm contributing to. And then, the next day I'll include some sort of application process in there, which takes about 1 hour to 2 hours. And I can typically bang out with, like we mentioned, I'm kind of just templating out these resumes. I could probably do like, 10 or 15 job applications in those 2 hours.
I don't know how you do that. I couldn't do that. That almost feels like you're still templating out.
I am.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, I think we're going to move away from that.
So I would aim for no more than 15 a week.
Okay.
I think you are applying for way too many positions. And we talked about this, but what that tells me, it's like, you're kind of just spitting out your resume to as many companies as possible. In like an 8-hour day, let's say an 8-hour day, how many hours are you dedicated towards actual project work? Not coding challenges, project work.
Project work? It's got to be like 4 hours, maybe slightly more sometimes.
It's a good amount.
I appreciate that.
So you're keeping up with the project work. What project are you working on right now?
I'm currently just fooling around with fetching APIs and React and making like little projects that I can put on my portfolio. So like right now I'm accessing like a drink API, a cocktail API, and I'm basically using TypeScript, React, and just trying to make something interactable on like, say, Code Sandbox, and then present that into my portfolio just to show people that I know these technologies and what have you. Gotcha.
Are you Are you mainly focused on front-end positions?
Yeah, I've decided to specialize when I'm applying to jobs. I got caught up in this mindset where I thought maybe more was better. And in reality, I was struggling with some of these technical interviews because I was just doing too many other things. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm a really good front-end engineer. That's kind of what I'm naturally geared towards. I'm just going to be that. So, yeah.
That's good. That's good that you recognize that. That's very perceptive. I feel like the ratio, so you're doing coding challenges, you're getting a little bit more comfortable with data structures and algorithms, you're doing a little bit of applications each day, and we talked about those applications are going to be a little bit more tactful going forward. You're doing a lot of project work. You're keeping up with that. And like having that, it's very shallow, but having that GitHub tree green as possible and showing consistency, right? Because a developer that maybe codes like once a week or something like that, it's frankly, they're just going to look less attractive. There's going to be more questions in the employer's mind, whether they're like ready to go, they're going to be in this for the long haul. So it's a very shallow thing to look at, but they can look at other things like, okay, you built some projects. Let's look at your GitHub. When were these commits done? Let's look at a long history of this person and do they really want to code? Because we don't want to hire someone that's just a career transition or looking for more money and we can hire someone that actually cares and has a passion for coding that also wants that, right? So a lot of employers it's just a giant risk assessment. They don't want to hire the wrong person. I think the project work is good. It sounds like the most recent project that you're working on, it's good to practice that. It's good to showcase your skills as a front-end developer. You want to interact with different APIs. And if you can do something with that data to create a meaningful app with that data that's different, that's powerful. But it's also kind of it's a low value project in the sense like you're just building projects to showcase your skills. Mm-hmm. And Mitchell, I have no idea what you care about in front end. Do you feel like your projects actually showcase like the types of problems you want to solve?
No, I think not at all. I think I've been using this to show my skills and not necessarily my passion. And I'm a very passionate person about this.
About what specifically?
I think that I just fell in love with programming and building things. I'm a builder by nature. I was a construction manager for a long time, and a buddy of mine who I didn't want to be in that career anymore. I was like, this is just not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And this was like 4 or 5 years ago. And a buddy of mine who was working at Oculus at the time was like, hey man, try coding. And lo and behold, it was like, ever since that first Hello World, man, I was just hooked. And I'm interested in building things that people can interact with. So that's really, I just love it. I like learning these skills. I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning, program until 7, head to work. And I was a manager. So I was there for 10 hours. I would meal prep on Sundays, come home and just program, rinse, repeat for 4 years, and finally I'm unemployed and the iron's hot,
Mm-hmm.
got to strike. And I love this. This is what I'm passionate about. Yeah.
Yeah. So, some people like me, I want to build specific tools. There are other people that really, really love talking about the architecture of their React app and why it's superior, why they think this is scalable. There are some people that want to build a gamified experience on the front end that's very interactive and it makes the user feel good, or it solves the problem in a way that it reminds them of playing video games as a child, and you get that reward system and you get that dopamine hit. It's
sounds nice.
Yeah, it does. Right. And so as you specialize in front end, I think that's a great strategy. If you want to have a back end, you can use some external service like Supabase or Firestore. It's Firestore is a non-relational database. Supabase is a relational database model, I believe. But you can add more complexity to your apps, right? If you want to build a full CRUD project, if that's the type of problem you're solving, which it doesn't have to be. But with front end, it's I don't know much about you, Mitchell. Do you have if I'm a hiring manager, do you have or a recruiter even, do you just have a bunch of templated projects that showcase technical skills that 100 other applicants have? Or do you showcase how passionate of a builder you are in talking about maybe you posted a LinkedIn article and you're just this project was really fun. And I struggled for 3 days on this really frustrating JavaScript library. But it was a drag and drop library. I'm talking about myself, by the way. It was a drag and drop library that I brought into my project. I could build this educational learning platform for children. And I finally and you're probably going to word it in a different way, but do you provide that transparency of that passion, of that interest, or are you just throwing your resume with a bunch of templates to employers?
I think before the boot camp, I was building passion projects, and I was really more engaged in what my end goal was with this project. And then after the boot camp, I think I've just been so focused on getting a job that I'm forgetting to have something more meaningful behind what I'm doing to showcase that passion, if that makes sense. I think you've caught me red-handed. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And what you just said, I'm telling you that's powerful. That's going to make you stand out. And I can promise you're not alone, especially going deeper into 2023. A lot of people are they're just trying to get a job at this point, and sometimes that passion can die a little bit. And then the mistakes happen. Then people start weaning back on how much project work they do. They start panicking because they have a financial situation. They have bills coming up, and it's like, then life just, life is life, and now you have to deal with life.
Yeah.
And so you have to find a way for that interest, for who you are as a person and what you can contribute and what you can bring onto a team and who you are as a person. Do I want to work with you as a developer? Like, show me that. Right? The more you can do that, whether it's writing a LinkedIn article, whether it's creating a project that's just like that's just like super relatable to an employer. Maybe you focus, you talked about like, I was very strict with my day. I'd wake up, I would do this, I'd go work out, I'd eat, and then I'd code. And like, you have a very strict schedule, and you're like, habits are really important. I've learned a lot of things about habits, right? And then you go and you build maybe like a habit tracker or something like that. And you use that project that's very relatable to companies that care about mental health, that care about progress, like fitness companies, focus companies, right? So now you can create projects that showcase something that you're interested in. It solves your problems, or it solves other people's problems. And it's very relatable in the sense that you probably built some features that this company is now using, right? And so this is where it's like, you can't just build a bunch of applications that's relatable to everyone. No one has the time of the day to do that. So you have to focus on a project. You're like, this is fun to build. And you have to think about like, what companies are actually going to care about this? What industries are going to care about what I'm building? And sometimes, again, it's not about the product idea or the project idea. Sometimes it's you exposing your transparency, your process as a developer, your interest in being a builder, right? And maybe that translates into like, you really care about structuring an app and making it scalable or something like that. So, I think the more you at least try to refocus on that just a little bit, I think you're going to stand out. But again, you can't just do that and continue the route you're going. You have to provide transparency, a window into people seeing that. And so networking, like we talked about, that can happen. You can talk about projects. You can talk about what you're interested in. You could do it at these networking events. You can do it through hackathons. That's also another window.
Yeah, man. Let's go.
Okay. So I know it's always limited with time, but do you feel like that gave you some tangible advice going forward?
Most definitely. I also think it helped me refocus, like the aim in, like making the connection behind the work that I'm doing, right? Because they're not just hiring someone who can do something. They're hiring like an entire person behind that skill. And I need to be relatable for these people, and I need to know what I'm passionate about, which in some regards is more valuable than the skills itself sometimes, Will I fit in this culture? Do I have something meaningful to offer this company and this team? Right.
It is. You have to have a certain technical proficiency depending on like what they're looking at, but a lot of people do. And so when you do, what stands out, it's you, Mitchell, who you are as a person, the type of developer that I'm going to be working with day to day. Like, yeah, you're on the right page with that. So, all right, cool. Well, feel free to, you're welcome to stop into any live stream. Let us know how you're doing. That's what some people do. But Mitchell, it was nice to meet you. Thanks so much for coming on.
And it was a pleasure. And I really appreciate you. I'm inspired, man.